What is up guys, Matthew here and welcome back to another video here on the channel and a video I have been meaning to get out for ages. I initially wanted to do this video when there was 10 games to go. I couldn't find the time to do it. I then wanted to do it into the international break and I still didn't get it done. And finally today I am going to give you guys my Championship League predictions where I think everyone will finish up at the end of the season, who I think will get relegated, who I think will go up automatically and who I think will win the playoffs. And to be fair, my predictions are now a lot more exciting than what they were before this weekend's results just gone. I will say that. So the weekend has thrown up a lot of good results, a lot of shock results that have actually made my predictions a little more exciting, I would say. So I'm kind of glad I waited, but I'm going to do it now. So here is my Championship League table predictions for this season.
As the Uruguayan curls one in. Oh, Middlesbrough take the lead!
So starting off at the bottom of the league and working our way up, the team I've got finishing bottom of the Championship is Blackpool. Now Blackpool, I don't think have got a chance of staying up this season, unfortunately, and I cannot see them putting together enough consistent results or picking up enough consistent points to give themselves a chance of staying up. They are 4 points currently from safety, and the teams just above the dotted line have got a game in hand on Blackpool, and barring that ridiculous 6-1 win a couple of weeks ago, I've not seen anything to suggest that Blackpool will pick up enough points to get themselves out of trouble. And in fact, I feel like the team I've got to finish above them has just gotten a bit more character about them to potentially climb above Blackpool. I just feel like they've not got enough going forward, they're not solid enough at the back, and it might be a case of who finishes bottom between the two sides I've got. But I've got Blackpool to finish bottom of the league and be relegated. At 23rd, I've got Wigan Athletic. Now, like I said in my previous point, Wigan as well, I think, are as good as relegated. I think it would take something miraculous for them to get out of the predicament they're in. They're 5 points back and have played a game more at this point. But this is what I meant when I said that I think they'll jump Blackpool. I just feel like Wigan have something about them that will allow them to finish above Blackpool, and that is that they've at least got, I think, a solid enough defence. Now, Sean Maloney, when he's come in, has solidified the back line of Wigan significantly, but they're still not scoring goals. They can't really have one without the other. They played very open under Kolo Toure and leaked goals for fun. Now they've really shut it up the back. They're a lot more difficult to break down, but equally they are not as good going forward. So I feel like their solid defence and their resilient back line could get them a couple of points here and there, but I still don't think they'll score enough to get the wins that they desperately need to get out of the predicament they're in. I do think, you know, they've been beaten in the last three. We saw them beat QPR. I feel like they have the ability to grind out a narrow 1-0 here, there, and they could surprise one or two, but I just feel like that 3 points deduction has just put them a little bit too far back to really make an effort of staying up, unfortunately. So as much as I love Wigan, I've got a real soft spot for them. I've got them finishing 23rd. Now, one of the big changes I did make to my league predictions following the weekend's results is the third team I've got to be relegated, and it is a shock, I would say, and a surprise, and would be catastrophic if it happened to that football club. Finishing 22nd, I've got Queen's Park Rangers, which is an absolutely crazy thing to say and predict given where they were in October. But like I often say with Boro and where we were in October compared to now, you could equally say, if not even more so, that QPR's absolute downfall since they were top of the league in October is absolutely astonishing. I don't think I've ever seen a team free fall down the league like QPR, and given the individuals they have in their squad, it makes it even more shocking, in my opinion, that they're just not picking up enough points at all. They're not even picking up draws. They are just getting defeated week in, week out. They were beaten by Wigan at the weekend. They were beaten by Birmingham before that. They're getting beaten by the teams around them. So if that's the case, how are they ever going to pick up points against the teams above them? And their running is absolutely horrible. So for me, I just don't see where QPR get a point from in the running, never mind a win. And given their current trajectory, they're only going to drop into the bottom three. And you look at the teams below them, they've narrowed the gap completely. The gap to Huddersfield, currently in 22nd, is only 3 points. The only team with a worse goal difference than them is Wigan, who are bottom of the league. So all it would take is Huddersfield to pick up another win, another turnaround in results one weekend. The fact Rotherham and Cardiff, just below them, have also got a game in hand. It would not take much for QPR to drop into that bottom three. And their style of play under Gareth Ainsworth, I just don't think suits the squad at all. I don't really see why the owners have brought him in. I know he's a legend at the club, but they must have looked at his style of play at Wycombe, thought if it would fit QPR's system, and it is just so predictable, so long ball, one-dimensional. It doesn't suit the creative players that they've got. Like, QPR's best players do not fit into this system at all, and I just cannot see any scenario where they turn this around and pick up enough points. So as shocking as it would be, and as just like I say, catastrophic as it would be for a club like QPR to somehow get relegated this season, I believe there's a strong chance it could happen. So yeah, unbelievably, I've got QPR to finish 22nd. So in turn, the other big surprise and the switch I made from before this weekend's results, this is mostly thanks to my beloved Boro, is that I've got Huddersfield to finish 21st and Neil Warnock to produce another miracle. Now, say what you will about the man, he did a similar job with Boro, to be fair. We weren't anywhere near as much in a dire situation as what Huddersfield have been. We were nowhere near as much in a dire situation as his Rotherham team were, but he kept Boro up, and he just manages to galvanise a dressing room full of players who were absolutely on the floor, and he gets them results. I don't know how he does it, but he's the perfect firefighter manager and might be the best appointment Huddersfield have made in recent memory. And to keep this team up would be a staggering achievement, but given their form recently, it looks rather likely now. Unbeaten in their last three. Of course, they beat Boro at the weekend. They beat Millwall too, and taking out Boro's result, which, thanks Boro, you're not helping my point here. Huddersfield still haven't been amazing under Warnock on the whole. They've picked up recently, but they grinded out a result against Millwall. They've drawn a couple of games, then they're still, despite the 4 they scored at the weekend, again, thanks Boro, they're not a team who, across the season, relative to the other sides around them, have scored enough goals. So, for me, I still think it will be a struggle for Huddersfield. I don't think just because they've won the last 2 and they're unbeaten in the last 3, they're just going to walk it and be safe comfortably. I still think it could be touch and go, but I do believe now Neil Warnock will have enough to get this Huddersfield town team over the line, which is quite astonishing if you ask me. But yeah, I think he's going to do it, and I think he's going to keep Huddersfield in the Championship. Just above Huddersfield in 20th, I have got Rotherham United. Now, I probably would have had Rotherham in the bottom 3 if it wasn't for QPR's utter freefall in form. But I feel like Rotherham will have enough. It'll be between them and Huddersfield, I think, who will get 20th. But I'm going to keep Rotherham where they are. They're not winning enough games, I think, is safe to say. And they might make it difficult for themselves. But I feel like they'll pick up just enough points to steer clear of the bottom 3. I think it could be mighty close, though. But I do think Rotherham will have just enough to stay up. So I'm going to keep them in 20th. But it wouldn't surprise me if they were leapfrogged by Huddersfield and they finished just, and I mean just, outside the bottom 3 in 21st. 19th, I've got Cardiff City, a team who've looked much more solid under Labucci. Their defeat to Swansea at the weekend was a bit of a disappointing one, but I still feel like they've picked up enough. The performances have been much better, and I feel like they will do more than enough to stay safe. I'm not too worried about Cardiff, actually, despite their current situation in the league. I do think they'll pick up enough points to leapfrog Rotherham. So, yeah, I feel Cardiff are safe, and I've got them in 19th. In 18th, I've got Reading. Now, this is a slight asterisk because Reading could, and I'm surprised haven't already, received their 6-point deduction. And the asterisk is that if they do receive that 6-point deduction, I honestly could put them in 22nd as well. I feel like a points deduction could demoralise a side, especially when they're already kind of hovering up in and around that area. They're on 46 points at the minute. You'd say they're safe, but that 6-point deduction would drop them down to 40 points and put them just above Cardiff. Only a point above the bottom three, but of course Cardiff have that game in hand on Reading, and Huddersfield have had an upturn in form. So I think this 6-point deduction is inevitable, but it's not happened yet. So I will say, currently, if it wasn't to happen, I'd still have Reading in 18th, although their form is atrocious at the moment, and Rotherham and Cardiff could well close the gap. I think they will just stay in and around 18th. But if they do get the 6-point deduction, then that could put them in a place where they are really panicky, really demoralised, suddenly fighting for their lives, and like I say, there could be a team like Huddersfield who could jump them, and it could very much relegate Reading. So they could still be in deep trouble, but as it stands, as of recording, they've not had that points deduction yet, so I'm going to keep them in 18th. 17th, I've got Birmingham City, and 16th, I've got Hull. The reason I've put these two together is I feel like they will finish in either or of the current positions that they're in. I feel like Hull have hit a bit of not bad form at the moment. I think maybe it's Birmingham who've had a slight upturn, but I've really liked Hull under Liam Rosenior, and I can certainly see progress in that side. Birmingham are very hot and cold. They've had an upturn in form, but it never really lasts long for the Blues. So I feel like one of them will be 16th, one of them will be 17th. I've got Hull to finish above Birmingham, just because I've liked the look of Hull more, but these two could be switched either way. The next two I've got to finish in the same positions they're in right now. They are pretty much the definition of mid-table mediocrity, and that is Swansea City in 15th, Bristol City in 14th. Two very inconsistent sides who have maybe underachieved this season. I'd definitely say that's the case with Swansea. They'll be disappointed with a 15th place position, but I feel like that's where they're going to finish. Again, they've had a good upturn in results, winning the last two, but they'd lost the last couple before that as well, so it wouldn't surprise me if Swansea went on to drop points and lose a couple more games. Same with Bristol City, very up and down, can't string a run of results together. So like Birmingham and Hull, and not, maybe like the four, you could group the four together to be honest, but I feel like them two will finish in and around them four positions, and from Bristol City down to Hull, any of them four could be in any order, but they will definitely all be between 14th and 17th. 13th, I've got Sunderland, who have dropped one position from where they are currently, which is 12th, and it's been a pretty disappointing second half of the season for our Wearside neighbours, who look like they could quite easily challenge for the playoffs at one point earlier in the season, but their form's tailed off a little bit. I think losing Ellis Sims in January and then Ross Stewart to an injury has completely crippled them going forward. They've had to rely on their wingers, their attacking players, Jack Clark, Patrick Roberts, and with them being youngish players, they're going to be inconsistent, and I think it was always inevitable Sunderland were going to hit a bit of a rocky road, and it would be hard for them to maintain that level of form and consistency compared to some of the much more well-equipped teams around them, and a lot, some of the stronger squads around them. So it's not a surprise to see Sunderland sort of drop in towards mid-table. The reason why I've got them dropping a place is because a certain team underneath them are on absolute fire at the moment. But yeah, Sunderland fans shouldn't be disappointed with their season. To have just came up and to be mid-table is a solid season, and they could be one to watch next year. But I do think Sunderland will drop in at the bottom half and finish 13th. In 12th, I've got Watford. Yes, another side that have been leapfrogged from a team beneath them. And Watford, well, they have just tailed off massively. I mean, what a disappointing season it has been for them. A team I honestly just assumed would be back up there fighting for promotion. But I think the Watford model has caught up with them a little bit. Sacking one manager, moving on to the next, the players having to dart from one system to another, that lack of stability, that lack of just consistency off the pitch, never mind on it, has led to this Watford team just become, well, not a team. They're a team of individuals, not a working, cohesive team of players all working towards the same goal. And yeah, I just feel like any chances of them making the playoffs is quite laughable at this point, especially given their performance against Luton at the weekend, which was pretty embarrassing given the fact it was a derby. And I think too many of Watford's star players just don't look interested. And yeah, I just can't see their form suddenly turning around. I mean, there's every chance this team could click. They are a very good team of individuals, but I just can't see Chris Wilder getting a tune out of them soon enough for them to make a charge towards the playoffs. And there's a lot of teams above them which I think are just a little bit more consistent. So I think this would be a huge underachievement for Watford, but I honestly can't see them moving any further up the table, and I've got them finishing in 12th. 11th then, I've got Stoke City, who were that side who have just, I don't know what's happened to Stoke. I think it's safe to say they've actually been underachieving for a long time. This is not a, bottom half team who have suddenly just overachieved beyond their means and are just doing something unexpected. I think, if anything, this is what Stoke fans and what people should expect of Stoke, given the squad that they've got. And it seems like finally they've clicked. Finally they've found a system or a way of playing that suits the unbelievable individuals they have. I mean, when they come to Riverside a few weeks ago, you looked at the Stoke team sheet and you honestly think, like, how the hell is this team where they were? And it's not just this season. Since they've come down, they've underwhelmed every single season. And Stoke have been one of the biggest mysteries in the Championship. I've never understood why. They've always had great squad, great players, and they've always underachieved massively. But it seems like finally we're seeing the Stoke City that I think we all expect to see. And it's sadly just come a little bit too late for them, I think. If this had have happened, come back from the World Cup, genuine chance this team makes the playoffs, but I think it's a little bit too late, unfortunately. They'll continue to have a very strong end to the season, and I think they will jump Sunderland, they will jump Watford, and put themselves into 11th in the table. Maybe they'll even catch Preston. The gap at the moment is 5 points, so it's close. I've got them close to overtaking Preston, but I think Preston will just have enough to finish above them. But Stoke are a team to watch next season, definitely, especially the way they look to end this season. I think they'll end it strong and they'll finish in 11th. So as I mentioned, P10, I've got Preston. Like I said, outside chance of the playoffs, maybe. I just don't think they've got quite enough to get there. There's a lot of teams above them in between the playoffs, so I think are going to be hard to overturn for Preston. But I think 10's a fantastic season for North End. I really do. They've hit a really good, consistent run of form recently. Take out the defeat to Boro, they've been pretty solid in the last couple of games, won 3 of their last 4, and look to have a really solid end of the season. I just don't think they have the individuals or the attacking quality to overhaul West Brom, who've got a game in hand on them, Coventry and Norwich too. But you never know. Preston very well could overtake them and finish 7th, but I think a playoff spot could be very difficult for them. So yeah, I just can't see them getting more points than the teams above them at this point. I could be completely wrong, but I've got Preston in 10th, which still is a fantastic finish for them. 9th, I've got Coventry City. Now, before this weekend's results, I really had Coventry as a strong consideration to nick 6th place, given the form they were in. But that 4-0 defeat to Stoke just kind of made me realise that Coventry have that run in them. They have that game in them, that run of form where they can just have 2 or 3 games where they, lose heavily, drop points, and I feel like they need to be a lot more consistent than that if they want to get into the top 6. So yeah, that result, as well as West Brom having a game in hand beneath them, has just made me think that they might just not be able to pull enough consistent results together to make the playoffs, and they'll probably stay in and around where they are at the moment, which is 9th, 8th, something like that, which is good. I think you look at the Coventry squad, it's probably not as strong as the teams around them. I think they've got the star players like Gyökeres, for example, who could provide on any given day and get them points, but I just can't see them getting above some of the teams above them. But it's still, a fantastic season given where Coventry have been, the off-the-pitch issues. 9th for them is a fantastic result. 8th, I've got Norwich City, another side like Watford who have underwhelmed massively and just do not look convincing under Wagner. at all. I mean, how they're currently 7th is quite astonishing, to be honest with you. But 4 points off the playoffs. They've played a game more. I think there's teams behind them that look a little bit more solid and consistent. And yeah, for me, Norwich, every time you think they're going to pull a run of results together, they'll win a game, they'll lose the next. They've not won any of their last 4 and looked pretty bad against Sheffield United. Didn't lay a glove on them, really. They just don't seem to have... I don't know, going forward they're just not clicking. I can't quite explain it with Norwich. They're making too many mistakes at the back, and it's a strange one. It's a strange conundrum what's happening at Norwich, but I just can't see Wagner getting enough out of that squad to get them into the playoffs, and I can't see them putting together a run that will be good enough either. And I have actually got them dropping down to 8th because, like I say, West Brom have got a game in hand, and I do think they'll finish above them. But I don't think West Brom will finish 7th. Oh no. That goes to Blackburn Rovers. Yes, Blackburn are 7th, and this could be a surprise given that they're currently sat 6th in the playoffs. They are, a good 5 points ahead of West Brom, who maybe are in 6th. But that game in hand for West Brom, I think, will drag them closer to Blackburn, and I don't know what it is about Blackburn. I think a lot of people have similar opinions. I just have a feeling they'll just drop off, and people keep saying that, and they just never do. But the amount of games they've won is unbelievable. That they've won the 4th most games in the whole division, but they've also lost 15, which is more than anyone else in the top half. So I feel like Blackburn are one of the most difficult teams to predict. But losing against the likes of Birmingham is a worry. They've had a great run of form recently, and there's no denying that, and they've had some fantastic results. But I just feel like they'll win one, lose one, win one, lose one. I don't think the consistency is there, and I just feel like there's a team below them who could just pip them to 6th, and that is West Brom at Albion. Now, I don't know what it is about West Brom. I think away from home they've still got a real problem, but at the Hawthorns, they're as good as anybody in this league, and we found it extremely difficult to get anywhere near them in our away fixture a few weeks ago, and we lost 2-0. So I feel like West Brom have one thing to solve, and that's their away form. If they do that, there's no reason why with the squad they have, with Carlos Corberán at the helm, they can get themselves into the playoffs. I just have this sneaky feeling that they will just have enough to get over the line. That game in hand is crucial, but I feel like if they can capitalise on that, they could just catch Blackburn. I don't know what it is. I just don't think Norwich or Coventry have the consistency. West Brom, I can see them doing it if they can just turn their away defeats into draws or turn their away draws into wins. I think they're covered at home. They're great at home. And I just feel like there'll be enough in that squad to just unlock enough results to get them into the playoffs. But I feel like if there's any team who can overhaul Blackburn, it's going to be West Brom, because I still think there's a very strong chance Blackburn stay in the top 6. They're the only team in the top 6 I think could possibly drop out of it, but if there's one team who could overhaul them, I have a feeling it could be West Brom. Into 5th, this one I think speaks for itself. I've got Millwall. Now, yes, Blackburn level on points with a game in hand, I get that, but I think Millwall have been solid so far this season, and I just feel like they'll get enough points to stay in the top 6. I feel like they're too far ahead of the teams below them for them to make too much of an impression on Millwall. Maybe they might drop into 6th, I don't know, but I think they'll be in the playoffs, and the gap to the teams above them is 6 points, and I can't see Millwall having enough to catch the likes of Luton and Boro, but I do think Millwall will have a playoff place. Despite them not winning in the last 2, we saw before that they had enough goals in the team. Of course, they're very strong at the Den for the most part, so I have enough faith that Millwall will have enough, and I feel like they'll stay where they are and finish in 5th. As for 4th, now, of course, Boro losing the way we did puts 3rd position into question a little bit, but Luton are on fire right now. They've been in incredible form in the last couple of months, and that cannot be ignored. So I think, without giving away the top 2, I think the fight for 3rd and 4th could go either way, but I've kept Luton in 4th. Now, if it wasn't for Boro's result at the weekend, I would be very confident in Luton finishing 4th. they've turned my head a little bit, but I feel like the team I've got in third will pick up enough points and will hit form again and be able to pull away from Luton and just keep a distance. And I think the goal difference is key as well from the teams above Luton, and that will probably give my team in third the edge on the Hatters to just finish ahead of them at the end of the season. Even if it is that they're on the same points, I feel like goal difference could be the difference. But I think the battle between third and fourth could quite easily switch, and Luton could quite easily finish third, which would be an unbelievable achievement, but one they would equally, I feel, deserve. But with Luton in fourth, revealing my team in third, which of course will also, I guess, kind of give away the top two as well. In third, I've got Boro. I have got Boro in third. I've got Boro to miss out on the automatics. And again, if this was the international break before the weekend's results, I probably would have just edged Boro to get Sheffield United. And I think a lot of Blades fans would have also probably agreed with me. But what happened at the weekend, I think, has just flipped things, I feel. And I feel like Boro have too much of a gap now to Sheffield United. I feel like we couldn't afford any major slip-ups between now and the end of the season. We had to at least keep in touch with Sheffield United. Even if they won, we had to draw. We couldn't have a big defeat like we did at the weekend and Sheffield United pull away. And, a 6-point gap would be big enough anyway. But Sheffield United's game in hand, I think, just gives them that little bit of comfort. Even if we close the gap, they've got that game in hand to pull away again. And at this moment in time, I feel like they've got the experience. And I think they'll get enough points on the board to pit Boro. And that, of course, puts Sheffield United in second. And hell, I might as well just announce that Burnley are going to finish top. That's not a surprise. They're an unbelievable side, one of the best we've ever seen. They're going to win the title. But yeah, I think Sheffield United are going to beat Boro to second. We could still make it interesting. We could still close that gap. We probably will continue to close that gap that little bit more. It is gradually still coming down. Even when we've had a setback, we've closed it back up again. Boro could still quite easily get within 2 or 3 points of Sheffield United again between now and the end of the season. We might even level. But that game in hand that they've got is in their back pocket. That ace they've got, they can play it. And I feel like that could just pull them over the line because that game in hand is at the very end of the season. And if Boro are applying the pressure, Sheffield United could just ease away at that perfect time to make, the gap insurmountable with a game or two to go, whatever it'll be. So Boro are going to be third, I feel, and that leaves me onto the team I do think will win the playoffs, and I have got Boro to win the playoffs. Now, I feel like across the course of the season, looking at the 24 sides, Boro, I think, deserve to go up. I think Burnley and Sheffield United set such an unreal precedent and standard in the first half of the season. There wasn't even an automatic promotion conversation 10 games ago, 15 games ago, which is credit to how good them two teams have been. They both do deserve to go up automatically. But if there was a third team who I think deserves to join them, it's Boro. And that's just down to the turnaround that Michael Carrick has had since he took over and the sheer number of points we've picked up in that time. Only second to Burnley, I feel, or maybe we were ahead of Burnley. Maybe that was just since the World Cup, I don't know. But we're up there in terms of, the best team in the league since Burnley, since Boro come back from the World Cup and since Carrick took over. So I feel like we deserve it, first and foremost, and I feel like looking at the playoffs, it's not the strongest playoffs. And looking at the playoffs I predicted, I've got West Brom in 6th. That would actually be a tough two-legged affair for Boro, but I feel like over the 2 legs, we would beat West Brom, especially at the Riverside. I feel like that's where we'd probably make the difference. And I feel like that would be the same against anyone we played in the playoff semi-finals, even if it was Blackburn, even if it was Norwich, even if it was Coventry. I feel like the away leg would be tough, and we might even lose the away leg. But we'd do enough in the second leg at home. I think we'd outscore them at home so much to the point to which we'd get to the playoff final anyway. I think Boro's goal-scoring ability will just outscore whoever it is we play in the home leg, and that will just, regardless of the result in the away leg, that will get us to the playoff final. And looking at it now, I mean, Luton are 4th. It could be Luton 3rd, Boro 4th. But the gap's 6 points. I feel like 3rd and 4th is Middlesbrough's and Luton's now. And it doesn't matter which way around it is. I can see a Boro-Luton final. And I'm sure Luton's playoff record's bad. Ours is just as bad. So someone's going to have the hoodoo broken. But I feel like Boro would beat Luton at Wembley. I don't know. I just feel like our players wouldn't be as fazed by the occasion as Luton's. Don't get me wrong. If we played Luton in a playoff semi-final at Kenilworth Road, they're probably one of the only few sides who could beat us so badly at their place we couldn't overturn that deficit at the Riverside. So I would want to avoid Luton in a playoff semi-final at all costs, and I think we will. And I think we'll meet them in the final, and as good as Luton are and as great as their story's been, I think Boro will have just too many experienced heads in the team, too many leaders in the team, and we will outscore Luton in what would be a fantastic playoff final, do not get me wrong. So I have got Boro. Whether it's third or fourth doesn't matter. I think Sheffield United are going to finish second, and I think Boro will beat Luton in the playoff final. So that's my league predictions, guys. That is what I think will happen between now and the end of the season. I might do a reaction video at the end of the season to see how right or wrong I was. But do let me know what yours are in the comment section below. I'd be super excited to hear from different fans from all 24 clubs to see what you guys think of my predictions. Do give this video a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for more as well, and hit the bell so you never miss a video here on the channel. I am going to try and do more football related content like this on the channel, but of course I do have gaming career modes coming up with my FIFA career mode, my Boro Carrot career mode to continue, as well as my golf career mode coming up too. So yeah, subscribe if that's something you're interested in too. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching this prediction video. I will see you all next time.